and I will be discussing tourism in developing islands. In the 21st century, many Americans associate quality well-being with the ability to get breaks from the stress of life and work. And we have created a wide range of ways to do so. In a TED Talk, Jane McGonigal describes one. She says that we're using games to escape real-world suffering, to get away from everything that's not satisfying about real life. Another more expensive yet popular leisure activity is taking vacations, perhaps in relaxing island destinations. Americans who say they take regular trips have significantly higher well-being than those who do not, according to a Gallup Healthways Well-Being Index. But in an era of globalization, many people wonder, can tourism be about more than just treating yourself? So small island developing states was a term coined at the UN Conference on Development and Environment. It describes the islands in the Caribbean Sea, Indian, Pacific, and Atlantic Oceans. And most of these islands are beautiful but disadvantaged because they are so small and separated from the continents. Except in the tourism industry, they actually have a competitive edge in the global market. This is where they are located around the world, and all the countries I will mention in this presentation are cities. So, should the United States continue to promote tourism in cities? Let's consider the economic and cultural benefits. Travel and tourism grew at a rate of 3.9% compared to the global economy's growth rate of 3.2%. Therefore, tourism can provide cities with a stable source of economic growth. For example, Mauritius experiences an annual increase in tourist arrivals, like many other cities. In 2014, Mauritius became the most competitive economy in the continent of Africa from its success in agriculture, manufacturing, and tourism. This is where it is. It's super small, but it's a really pretty island. Tourism can also be improved by and improve the local infrastructure. The government of the Dominican Republic, for instance, has been investing in tourism by improving roads, building airports for domestic and international travel, and directing tourists toward traditionally under-resourced towns. In this way, tourism can support local development, which then reinforces tourism spending, and so forth. Tourism can also be a driver of local development. Many hotels are striving to source food from local farmers in order to keep the tourist revenue circulating within the islands. For example, travelers to Seychelles describe falling in love with local food like freshly caught fish, spicy curries, and fresh fruit. Therefore, supporting local businesses is self-sustaining since international visitors are more drawn to the local authentic flavors anyway. Tourism also creates jobs. According to the World Bank, it is the second largest job producer, holding 1 in 10 jobs worldwide. In Barbados, for example, more than 1/3 of the jobs are in the tourism industry. Also, 60 to 70% of global tourism employees are women, making it one of the few fields in which women are actually the majority. The value of tourism should not just be seen as a means of income, as it can have positive social impacts as well. Tourism can support cultural heritages in the cities. A survey of 1,000 American leisure travelers found that more than 70% visited one or more cultural attractions in the past year, and they spend more on average than tourists who don't take part in a cultural activity. As a result, these historic sites are provided the capital needed to continue. The Puerto Rico Tourism Company explains, from vivacious salsa music to bomba dance festivals, the splendors of Puerto Rico's culture are waiting to captivate visitors. 500 years of history are told to rhythms brought by our ancestors and made our own, conveying the important relationship between the travelers and the local performing arts. Tourism can be even greatly beneficial to the visitors themselves. Here's a clip from an interview from NPR with a high school student. Oh, okay. My favorite thing about travel is seeing how other people live their lives. I believe that seeing and trying to understand different cultures brings me closer to these different people. In support of this, researchers for Smithsonian Magazine found that the majority of cultural heritage travelers believe that the most memorable trips are the ones where they learn something new. However, island tourism unfortunately contributes to and is impacted disproportionately by environmental factors. First, small islands are areas of extreme extinction. Margaret Thatcher spoke of this issue in a speech to the UN, saying, the tropical forests contain a half of the species in the world. We are losing them at a reckless rate, between 3 and 50 each day. Not only is biodiversity a key component of many tourist attractions, but diverse ecosystems are important to SID's natural functioning. Additionally, small islands only produce around 1% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions, but they endure coral bleaching, irregular precipitation, and sea level rise. Unfortunately, rising sea levels will cause the Maldives to be uninhabitable within 100 years. Finally, island tourism can be an incentive for environmental conservation, since tourists are forced to come face-to-face with the worsening effects of climate change. For example, the governments of the Cook Islands and Tonga have lately emphasized the importance of beach cleaning campaigns. In summary, tourism within SIDS is economically significant, socioculturally beneficial, and has the potential to propel environmental conservation. Therefore, American travel institutions should continue to encourage island tourism with an emphasis on local spending, cultural engagement, and sustainable practices. SIDS must also adapt to the growing technological demands of the 21st century. I described previously that all like the positive impacts, and I think that we can maximize these by having social media marketing and increased website services. If appropriately used, tourism is extremely valuable to SIDS. The profits generated can go towards infrastructure, healthcare, more conservation, and the promotion of more responsible tourism.
Thank you, Alana. How did your research question evolve as you moved through the research process?
So in the beginning, I kind of had a general idea of doing tourism, but I actually wasn't sure if there were more like benefits or negative effects. So I did a lot of research and I read through a lot of like academic journals and opinion pieces where I took the evidence, I sort of like looked at both sides, and I decided to finally do the positive impacts, but still include the environmental aspects because that's so important and I think you can't ignore it.
Great. And explain the level of certainty you have about your conclusion, solution, or recommendation at the end there.
Okay, so I think that, well, I'm confident with the recommendation, but I think it's really optimistic, and I recognize that. Yet, I think that tourists can actually make a bigger impact than they realize. So this could be through saving water, because a lot of the locals don't get as much water as the tourists in hotels do, or purchasing locally and not spending within the hotel too much. Also, actually engaging in cultural activities, and these could really be really beneficial. Yeah.
Thank you.